Hey guys, welcome back to Olson's Garage. This is going to be part 2 of Did I Get Screwed Buying This $500 Dirt Bike. So, we ripped apart the engine. You guys have already seen that this was just a nightmare with the clutch and shift fork being all messed up and the collet not being in there and the case being cracked and this little elbow being cracked and leaking. Which I might be kind of screwed on this. I went on Partzilla and they don't really seem to sell this. I did get a return, so hopefully parts come in for this. Otherwise, I'm going to be buying a whole case, which would kind of suck. But on eBay, they're like 25 bucks. So not a big deal. We're trying to keep this thing really cheap just to get it up and running. But yeah, I'm a little nervous on parts availability. Believe it or not, these 90s bikes are getting harder and harder to find parts for. What a surprise. Especially when they're not like, well, I guess these were pretty popular. But nonetheless, we're going to be checking out some other stuff. So we're going to be ripping plastics off. We're going to be plugging some holes here and seeing how bad this thing leaks water-wise. Hopefully these radiators are still in good shape. And kind of seeing, because there's like hardly any bolts on this thing. There's our air filter is kind of gross. Our bolt's actually in there, so that's a good sign. This seat's kind of ugly. I don't think this tank leaks, but I think the carb is gonna have to be rebuilt, which isn't a big deal. I'll rebuild the carb. But yeah, so we're gonna kind of look the rest of the way around the bike and find some other stuff. Another thing is that this front tire is flat. And I've never seen this. This dirt bike tire must be like an OG tire because it's dry rotted. Like, have you ever seen a dirt bike tire dry rot like that? My goodness, when was the last time this thing was like used? I did check out the brakes do actually work, and I'm surprised in how good a shape these are. Like, my KX has smashed up ones. Granted, I ride my KX quite a bit. But I mean, this front plastic's cracked too. And that seems like it's only being held in by 2 bolts. And that's because it is. So we're gonna see if those bolts are broken too. Yeah. But anyway, let's rip some plastics off and let's see how this bike really is. Stay tuned. So the cool thing about this bike is that it's mostly 8s and 10s. It's supposed to be completely 8s. But I know that this is going to have a couple 10s on it, I'm sure. So first thing, and we took it off already, the exhaust pretty much hanging off. This is hanging off. This is hanging off. So let's start ripping into this thing. First thing we got here is a 10 that was loose. All these bolts are important. Let's put all the important bolts over here. And let's put all the, let's be honest, cosmetic bolts right here. Alright. So we got that. Perfect spot. This is actually in pretty nice shape. We're going to see if this fits on my KX. It might not, actually. Maybe it will. We'll see. So we got that off. The seat should come off now. Okay, this seat's not in terrible shape. We might be able to, yeah, this seat isn't bad. I'd rip that for a little bit. We'll get a seat cover coming for it. God, this is pretty bad. This silencer is sweet. Power core, shorty. Thing looks be in decent shape. Cleaned off. The bushing doesn't look terrible. Yeah, this thing's not bad. You can tell this thing was running really sooty though. From right here. So we'll get that parked right there. What else do we got? This is being held on by 1 bolt with nothing else on it. So that's great. And a Phillips pan head. This is ugly, but is in pretty good shape. It's not even cracked. gross. Who does this kind of stuff? Nasty. There's a Wisco sticker on it, so it at least had one piston. Cool thing, this thing actually does have decent compression. So, not bad. Can't complain too much about that. Throw these gross stickers away. Alright, now time for the side plastic. It's not really being held in by much anymore. Okay. And then this one actually has 2 on it. So same thing. This pretty good shape, to be honest. So at the very least we have a plastics kit. Subframe all seems mostly fine. A little ugly paint, but outside of that, nothing too bad. These grips are obviously junk. We'll get some grips coming for it. But we'll leave those on there for now. Like that. We have one bolt holding this side on. Okay. Radiators don't seem terrible. I might have spoke too soon. Hoses look alright. Carburetor looks fine. We'll need to run some vent hoses on it. This chain's pretty tough, but we'll put that stacked chain back on. These fronts aren't really that bad. I mean, they're a little ugly, but overall, pretty good shape. Oh, that is an actual factory one too. That's crazy. There's a couple factory bolts on this thing still. All these bolts are like hand tight. That makes me so nervous. I mean, at least they're coming out, but why are they all hand tight? I expected the impact to at least make a little noise. Yeah, same thing. I mean, not bad shape overall. Heck, maybe we'll get a graphics kit and clean these up the best we can and reuse these plastics. I was debating about maybe putting my KX plastics on this, but I mean, in all reality, these aren't too bad. I think I see one broken bolt for this front piece. That really sucks. Because these are not easy to repair. Oh. No broken bolts. Crazy long bolts. That's kind of wild, but same thing. Overall, this thing's in pretty good shape. These plastics are surprisingly new. If anything, we could helicoil these bolts. Or hell, maybe just even tap them out. Not too bad, not too bad. I was honestly worried that there was going to be a lot more broken bolts in here, but it's looking so far. We are missing a guard and the bolts for the radiator. Someone must have tried to rebuild this and everything went wrong and they just gave up, because that's really kind of the vibe I'm getting from this thing. Someone just gave up on this project. Like, here's another panhead bolt, but all these holes seem to be fine. Tank seems to be alright. Someone was using too long a bolt right here. That really sucks. Outside of that though, we'll get new clutch cables. New clutch cable and a new clutch cable's rod are kind of goofy. Oh god, I'm just gonna spend an hour trying to get this bolt out. One eternity later. Oh my god. Alright. Okay, that's right still. So what we're gonna do is that I have this blue plug kit. Blue plug kit, and these things are awesome because you can plug holes with these. Comes with a bunch of different sizes. Oh. Kind of small for that. Let's move up a size. Nope. Go even bigger. Okay. So we got a plug in the radiator. Oh god, this radiator hose is kind of messed up too. Ugh. So many problems with this thing. To no one's surprise. And then we got a plug in. Let's see if we can maybe find one better size. What is this, a 16? This is a 20. 18 gonna fit? 18. 18 fits pretty good. So we'll push that in there. And then we're going to put some water in it and see how bad it leaks. Hopefully it doesn't leak too bad, because I don't really want to be buying a radiator. We're just going to go for it. We're just going to fill it all the way to the top and hope for the best. All right. It's bubbling a little bit, but so as we're waiting for that to see if there's any leaks, we are going to try and mess around with this clutch a little bit. And what I mean by clutch is the push rod part of the clutch. Can I see what we got going on there? All right, so now we're on the left side of the bike. What we're going to be looking at is some of this clutch stuff. So we're going to take the clutch cable off, and we're going to figure out what's going on with this shifter. So we got that out. So, okay, so this is right off the bat kind of scary. But I guess there's really no reason that this couldn't pop out. It doesn't look like there is a retainer for this at all, which is kind of crazy to me. But we will pop it back in there. So basically how this is supposed to work is that push rod. We'll get closer to make sure you guys can see. So the push rod is supposed to go slide into here, and then when you rotate it over, it pushes it out and releases the pressure plate, or applies force to the pressure plate to release the clutch, to allow you to shift and slip it and everything else. So this is supposed to go in. It just feels like it doesn't go in all the way. That's the weird thing. Like, should that stick out that much? Or is there something else going on in here? I have a feeling there's something else going on. I think that should go all the way to the bottom. But maybe not. We're going to try and put that push rod back in there and see if we can get it to actually actuate. That's crazy to me how that's how this goes. You can just pull this out and there's nothing holding it in. We're gonna look into the diagram and just make sure that's how that works. But it does seem to be actuating just fine. So I'm pushing on the push rod right now. And then as you pull the clutch in, oh wait, I may have spoke too soon. Because it's only working like this. Maybe this thing has to go down farther. That's not ideal. Not ideal at all. It just seems so odd to me. It does seem to be the bottom. And that's not the bottom though. Alright, let's shine a flashlight in there and kind of see what we got going on. Well, that's a little odd. It almost looks like it's not going down all the way. So let's see if there's anything at the bottom of this. Of course, I can't see straight on. Ooh, I see something else going on. This is missing some of the bearings for this thing. I wonder if those little bearings are at the bottom, and that's what's causing it. Let's see if I can get my magnet down in there. Pull some of that crap out. Here we have our magnet. Hopefully we can kind of fish this down there. It's going to be kind of tricky. We might have to sacrifice this. Oh, Jesus. Alright, so there's a lot of little needle bearings that we're pulling out. That's probably the rest of them. Well, I guess at this rate. I wonder if I have another long, skinny little magnet. So I did end up digging a handful of those little needles out of the bearings for this thing, and I got it to sit all the way down, and I put the push rod in, and it actually actuates properly now. I am going to have to put a new seal in here and then replace those bearings. I'm going to see if I can find parts. I'm a little nervous about that. Water's been in here for a little bit, and surprisingly, there's no leaks. So, fingers crossed, we're in good shape. Eventually, when we get this thing running again, hopefully pretty soon, we'll put some pressure in here and then just make sure that there aren't any other leaks. I'm replacing this bolt, this seal, the bolt on the bottom. I'm going to have to get another seal and bearings for this. And then I got a new clutch cover and a couple other things coming. I need to get a new air filter on this thing. This one's super gross, and I'm not going to run it for any amount of time. It looks like mice were chewing on this, so I don't know how long this thing has been in storage. It's crazy though. This thing has really good compression, which I was super surprised about for how it looks. This thing looks terrible, but I'll grab you guys and show you kind of what I'm talking about here. I couldn't believe it. So we'll go down here. Make sure. Right there. Hopefully you can kind of see. Trying to hold the flashlight and the camera at the same time is somewhat of a task. But if I rotate this over, that piston looks perfect. Listen to that. That's a healthy amount of compression. for this little 125. Not bad. So that I'm super okay with. If the engine's in good shape, we have, you know, quite a bit of compression. Nothing like water-wise is leaking in our radiators. We are missing this guard here. Nothing's leaking in the radiators. I was really happy to see that nothing's leaking out of the drain bolt through the engine or getting in the gear case or the crankcase at all. Pretty stoked about that. Yeah, we'll have to rebuild this carb. I don't think that carb's in terrible shape though. And then here's the air filter I was talking about before. Pretty trashed. It does look like the suspension has actually been gone through by this MX Tech in Bourbonias, Illinois. So kind of cool. You can see both these forks and this shock are, you can see this shock and both the forks are labeled. We know our brakes work. We could probably go through and tighten these spokes on here. This rear tire is holding air, so I'm stoked about that. We'll run that. Motocross use only. Cool. But yeah, overall, really not too bad. Oh, we're gonna try plastic welding that too. That's kind of horrendous, but we'll come up with a repair for that too. But yeah, overall, this night has been quite a success. There's just a couple things, obviously, levers, grips, honestly, handlebars, because these are gross, and a handful of other things. These plastics are in surprisingly good shape, but we just have a lot of kind of boring work to do as far as tapping bolts, finding shrouds, air filter. Honestly, we'll throw tires on this thing too. We'll send it with these tires for a little bit, but this thing could use tires as well. We'll get some brake pads coming too, because I'm sure these are probably... Oh, there's quite a lot of meat on these. Oh, maybe we just need a rotor. The rotor's not too bad. Chain, sprockets. We'll make this thing pretty much like new. So I'm super stoked. This bike's really not in too bad a shape. We can definitely make this thing rip again, and I'm super excited. So I'm gonna go order some more parts, and we'll get this thing hopefully running here in our next video, or maybe the next video. The next video, we'll put this thing together, and then we'll go race it, test it. So guys, this has been part 2 of our $500 Kx125. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to see more, like and subscribe. See you guys.